Hello and welcome to episode number 7 of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic here on the Compound Fracture channel. We are building a coal power plant, people. And it's going pretty well. We have 3,344 workdays left to go. But we'll get there. And we just lost 6,000 rubles as soon as we hit play. We must have imported something. That is wildly unfortunate. What did we import? Oh, it'd be this guy. Meat. It would not be that guy. I guess what's happened is that we have caught up on loan payments. We must have, unfortunately, let our money stagnate at zero for a little while. And that is a crying shame. But now we're back on the move. We are no longer concrete limited here. We have a bunch of concrete mixers, 3 of them in fact, making the very short trip back and forth from the concrete plant, which has barely a worker and now no workers at all. So that's unfortunate. That means that this truck probably only has half a ton. Yes, it does. And this truck will have to return home. Or he might just pick up 0 tons and call it a day. Okay. But this bus will bring more workers. Yes, it has 7, so at least 1 will get to the concrete plant, and we will be back in business. Yes, we will. In fact, all 3 of these guys are going there. So that is solid. We now have 12 workers on site. That is good to see. So it's spring now, and we are seeing the fields begin to be sown. Our tractors are all busy. That is excellent news. Meanwhile, our farm, or our food factory rather, is doing quite well in terms of what's stored. We still have almost 1,600 tons of grain stored. We only have 3 people working here right now. That should increase as the roads have cleared and we have more buses on the line. Also, now that it is up to the mid-teens in temperature, I'm worried a little bit less about the orange buses. I'm going to restrict the heating plant number down, bring it back down to 23. And I'm going to take this orange bus right here off of this line. I'm going to put him back on the food line. So that'll slightly tweak the numbers in favor of the food factory. And these 2 are right next to each other. In fact, there's 3 of them right in a row, so I'm actually going to do the same thing with this guy. I'm going to put him on the farm line. Now we have 4 orange buses only, and I think that'll be enough. Take the heating plant down another notch. And I don't think we need as many in the gravel plant either, because we've reached a good, solid amount of gravel in our storage. In fact, we're 99.75% filled, which is more than a solid amount. That is completely stuffed. So we really shouldn't be worried about workers here. And in fact, we could consider taking one of these gravel trucks, or these stone quarry trucks, which seems to currently be going for fuel. I guess it needs fuel. We take one of these and put him on some more useful job, like working in one of our construction depots. That's something to consider. Here are 2 construction buses, right neck and neck, which does nothing to help us because the second one now only has 3 people. It's the trouble with having 2 gigantic construction buses in one construction office. They will often bunch up like that, and the second one will be utterly useless. But that's okay. We will have like 86 workers arriving soon, and that's very important to get this job done. The end of this power plant is well within sight now. And that is what will bring us to financial prosperity. Look at this progress bar. Excellent. We are doing well. Very, very well. Despite our terrible, terrible financial straits. Our food factory is factoring into our success, that is. Ha! We're now almost halfway through the crops that we harvested last fall, and we're about halfway through the year, so that's about perfect, actually. I like the way that's going. Again, I've said this several times through the playthrough, but we want to be at a steady state where our crops last the whole year, where we have just enough workers at our food factory to continue to produce food throughout the year, despite the fact that the crops only come in the fall. Now I see our cement plant is... Oh no. Workers just took a while to get to the asphalt plant. I was going to say our cement plant is functioning well at the expense of our asphalt plant, but let's be real, who needs asphalt anyway at this point in the game? We have built some paved roads, but we're not looking to build very many of them. Not right now. We're too poor for that. And meanwhile, our mostly dirt road infrastructure is doing okay for us. If we had faster roads, we'd be able to get away with less vehicles, but that is something to think about in the future when we start needing more vehicles than we currently have. Might have been a consideration to build these roads in gravel right away, but I don't think that's strictly necessary. Eventually we'll want this bus stop to this intersection to be gravel so that our buses can go more reliably. But that can be a question for tomorrow. Again, I'm considering removing some of these trucks, but I see that they're now not waiting in the processing plant, probably because they both took a break for fueling. And our gravel storage is now not completely full the way it was a few minutes ago, probably because we've needed so much gravel for the cement production. Or the concrete production. I always confuse those two. Cement and concrete. Come on, buses. You can do it. 20 workers on that one. 8 on that one. That's only 28. That's not great. But we might get through this stage with only those 28. That would be good. In fact, I think we probably will, because these tower cranes are speeding up the construction considerably. We need one more truck of concrete to come. So hopefully it's on its way. Let's check. One mixer. There we are. Where are you? Let's watch you. Slowly making his way along the dirt road. While we do that, we'll check our population stats. We are still having more deaths than we are births at the moment, which is not ideal. That could be just a bit of a population bottleneck from our age distribution, because we have had a major die-off, followed by a lot of immigrants being imported, followed by a lot of babies coming out of those immigrants. So this could be a natural cycle. It could also be the tail end of winter having taken its toll. Speaking of tolls, we need more money. The bell has once again tolled. So, I actually like the way this looks. The last few loans, if we read these numbers, we paid off 8,000, 8,500, 8,500. So, we had said earlier that our goal was to sit at a steady state of roughly 5 $60,000 loans. It looks like, based on that 8,500 number, more like 7, but that's still okay. 7 loans is not the end of the world, and that's where and we're at 8 right now. We have 7 $60,000 loans and also 3 20s, but these will be repaid quite quickly. Within 39 days, we'll have a lot of this paid off. And hopefully, in those 39 days, we will have only taken out one additional loan. So I'm okay with the way this is going. The cement, meanwhile, or the concrete, meanwhile, has been delivered to the power plant. And we are about to import a ton of steel, mechanical components, and electrical components. So that looks very bad for our near future. Let's hope it works out. High voltage wires. Here we go. Actually surprised that these aren't done yet. We have all the resources. We are only lacking workers, and we are lacking cranes. It's possible I should build another crane. I hesitate to do that, though, because we have so little money. I think I'm okay with these wires not being quite finished until the power plant is finished. And these cranes will be freed up. It almost looks like a power plant now. That is very nice to see indeed. Now we're delivering all sorts of steel, which means if we go over here, we must be importing steel to make up for that. And there it goes, 2 trucks of steel, each one costing about 5,500 rubles. There's another truck of steel. We do have a few exporting food trucks as well, somewhat mitigating the expense, but each food truck exporting only brings in, if we can find this guy over here. Oh, he's going towards the shop. What about this one? He's full, and he's going to get 750 rubles for his hard work. Meanwhile, this one's going to load up on steel, and his steel is going to cost roughly 8 times as much. And this is why we almost need another loan again. But that was expected. This new phase of construction will be expensive, but we have brought most of the resources to the construction site already, so we're feeling pretty positive about this. I'm sure our covered vehicle is bringing the electrical components. Where are we? This guy. Yes, indeed he is. 3.7 tons of electrical components, and then we'll be able to continue construction from there. We will no longer be resource bottlenecked. We will now just need workers. Oh, this is going well. I can almost taste the day when we can start planning new construction. That's right, construction is tasteable in this here world. What else are we going to taste? Just our bread? Bread's not very tasty, people. Workers. Oh, that's interesting. I want to pause this for a second because those look like they are not blue-collar work. Oh, that's right. We can't select individuals on the road like this. I wish we could. We'd have to go to where they live. But the hope is that we're not sending educated workers here. I think I was just mistaking the white shirts for being white collars because these are all only basic education. So that's good. Our higher education workers need to be teachers and doctors. And we don't have very many of them, so it's important not to waste them. Meanwhile, we're once again broke. We will once again take out a loan. This time we only got 5,000 paid off, but that's okay. We know where that money is going. It is going towards our power plant construction. And probably also our cistern truck, because it has just delivered fuel, by the looks of it, to this gas station. And that is very expensive. Our construction office looks sadly idle. Now, one thing we should consider is whether we want to start investing in this coal mining infrastructure immediately once the power plant is built. That is tempting. We could consider just getting the processing plant, this storage, up, and then begin importing raw coal instead of processed coal. I don't think that would save much, though. I don't think the coal processing plant does very much without an active coal mine, and there's a tremendous amount of expense between all these buildings. But our money's looking quite stable. We have spent a tremendous amount of money, but it's been mostly steel. That is a one-time construction expense. So if we go back a bit, let's just say all of this year. 53,000 plus 5,000 plus no bitumen. That's interesting. So more or less these two. I also don't see imports of mechanical or electrical components, which surprises me. But if we look at this, we have imported roughly 60,000 probably. A little less than 60,000 worth of construction materials specifically. So if you take 60,000 off of this, we are actually making a significant amount of money right now. Our food income is doing quite well, and I believe it is more than enough to keep up with our interest payments. And that's what we should be worried about. We know we're going to have to take out some debt in this early part of the game because it's very difficult to get early game revenue going unless you're cheating with oil, and we're not cheating with oil. We're trying to build from the ground up, literally, as we farmed. For our very first thing we did in this world, we built our farms. Tell you, someday we'll have this large humming empire with railroads going all as far as the eye can see, and steel mills and mechanical component factories and electrical component factories and all sorts of wonderful and lovely things, and then we will rest. But then is not now. Now we still have to scrimp and save every little penny. We need to account for every little worker. We need to slow down and not overbuild too quickly, lest we fall into terrible debt spirals. And we do not want to be in a debt spiral. A debt spiral is a lovely way to end a game on expert. I am tempted to buy another crane, you know? We're almost done, though, so we should just be patient. And meanwhile, here come more workers. 56 in this bus, and 0 in that bus. So those 56 might even be enough by themselves. Probably not. Probably we will have to wait for one more bus load. But look at that, it's going real quick. So actually, I think the coal power plant is just about finished. Let's prepare for the inevitability that it will be finished by... It's too bad we can't dump this. Can we dump it? No. I would like to move one of these dumping dump trucks, dump one of the dump trucks, and then bring it into the distribution office. I don't think we can immediately start the coal power plant without having more dump trucks in the distribution office, because we are going to need to bring lots of coal in, and we are struggling to keep up with demand for here alone. As you can see, there are no inactive dump trucks here at all. This is interesting. There's a little bit of asphalt in this one. I don't know why that happened or how. We could consider in the short term moving one of these dumpers over, but I do want to get roads building again. And in fact, we should probably just do that now. Let's just do that now. No problem with having more expenses, are there? Let's extend our asphalt roads out along this major route here. So we'll do that. And we'll... That's fine. That's okay. Here come the cranes again. This time they'll be dropped off at the wires, and our coal plant is indeed 100% complete. So that is fantastic news. We are making real progress here. We're going to buy one more dump truck, even though we can't really afford it, but we can't afford not to have it either. And then we're going to add the coal power plant to this office task, like so. We're going to tell it to fill the coal power plant all the way up with coal. Go figure. And hopefully that'll happen. Meanwhile, these wires are almost done. And soon... Oh, these are completely done? No, they're not. Almost done. And these are also almost done. So we'll... Once we've finished these power lines, we'll buy the last little section of each side. And both here and here. And we'll switch over to coal power. We also do need more little microbuses. There's really no choice in that. Take out more loans, more loans, more loans, more loans. So I'm going to start with 3. And we'll also take the remaining buses we don't need on the other microbus line. And we will hope that this is going to work for us. So load there, unload there, start immediately. I want to get this power plant running before we transfer our power over to it. I'm a little bit concerned that since we built the infrastructure in such a way that the power for our city goes this way and the power for our plant goes that way, we might have serious trouble flipping the switch and importing power at the time that we need to. We might consider heading off that inevitability by hooking up this line, I suppose, over to this side and putting a little switchamadoo over here. Switchamadoo? Yeah, switchamadoo works for me. So now that this microbus has been started for a little while, we will not hit move to stop. In fact, we will copy the schedule to both of these, and that seems quite good. We'll then start you. Meanwhile, we'll look at this stop and we'll pull the little microbus here that is heading to the building, and we'll switch the line to this one. I think that's right. Don't like the default name that's showing up here because it's not close to the border. Where is the name? It's up here. Oh, geez. Let's get rid of that. That is not the place I want that name to be. So let's put a name here and call this something boring yet again. I'm still waiting for people to give me names. That would be lovely if you would. So, should I be creative or should I be boring? What do you think? Creativity comes ever so hard to me, sadly. Const zone obstruction. Conzonostruct. Conzonostruct. I think that's halfway between boring and ugly and creative and ugly. As long as we keep the ugly, I'm happy. Can I remove this? Yes, I can. So now these buses these bus stops have nicer names like Constructo Zono Bus Stop 2. Yeah, I like it. Now the other option, that might be a better option, would be to put a fork in the line here. I should have thought of this, before I fully built these power lines. Because I believe that when we import power this way, it cannot go through the power plant. I believe. I'm not sure. Like if we had the main high voltage line cross over here, hit a fork, maybe here and then have one side go around. I don't know. I think one of the things we have to decide is if this power plant indeed stops working. It is working now. But if it stops working, then we can hit emergency buttons and start buying power lines to just keep our city functional. I think we need to be okay with the idea that we might have to spend money on this. So let's do it this way. Oh, I see our dollars are going down. I think I might have told, in fact, I know I think I did tell the warehouse with the components to auto buy in dollars way back when. I only noticed it when I watched back the video when I was trimming it up, and I see it right there, because I meant to do a one-time purchase only here, but I failed. So that'll be better. That's where our dollars have been going. We can now only afford to import 11 or 12 more doses of third world immigrants, which is not ideal because we might need more than that in the future. But that's a problem for the future. Right now we're dealing with present time problems, like high voltage wires. Okay, so now let's check to see what's happening. We do have power running through. Yes, we do. Our power plant is up and stable. Got 7 workers here. We're going to just make absolutely sure the citizens only go to the power plant for now, because if once we start turning on these constructions, they might just decide to go to the constructions instead, and we don't want that. And we're going to switch this over to export mode. Look at that. That is beautiful. Exporting 18 megawatts of power. 18 megawatts. And now our money is scrolling its way upward very, very quick indeed. So as long as our dump trucks are able to keep up with the demand for coal, and they are hilariously failing to do so, that is a problem. So instead, let's buy another dump truck. Will just one more be enough? Probably not. A little bit concerned about this. I might decide to temporarily turn on auto purchasing, though that would feel like a horrific defeat, but it would keep the money flowing. Yeah, this is very concerning. There are 3 dump trucks right now en route, but oh dear. Look at me, I'm doing a bad. Keep it at 4, people. So we want to get this to the point that it is refilling from the border with trucks instead of automatically. But I'm going to do this as a fail-safe. It's not ideal. In an ideal world, we would not be fail-safing these kind of settings, but what we really don't want to have happen is our power plant suddenly turn off and then have to rejig all of these power lines like this. That would be a terrible crying shame. Yes, it would. Meanwhile, we're building these asphalt roads nice and slow. How is our birth rate doing? Oh, look at that. We have had 11 births and only 3 deaths this month. That's good to see. If we go back and look at last month as well, we are still in the black. We are in the positives. There were a few deaths sitting right over there, but we're doing pretty well here. Our educated workers are still probably not doing great, and in fact, they are not. We'll be slowly hemorrhaging educated workers as we go, unfortunately. But the power plant is full. We might have even overdone the orange buses going to the power plant, but I'm not going to be too concerned about that because this is our bread and butter. It's both keeping us going and generating most of our income. I see the dump trucks are doing a decent job, so hopefully we won't have to dip into auto buy very often. That would be lovely. And yeah, if we just look at that spike. Selling power. Beautiful. Okay. So one more loan. Hopefully this will be the last one for a while. It probably won't be because we're about to start more construction. I wonder how we should do this. I think the first thing to do is get... I don't know about a first thing. I think we should just turn all of these on, perhaps. Nah. All of them on's a bad idea. It's almost always a bad idea. So let's just start the aggregate construction and the conveyor. These should be relatively quick. I'm actually really surprised the aggregate construction has such minimal construction costs. I probably shouldn't have worried so much about doing a large one as opposed to a small one earlier. The situation is certainly improving in our little community here. We're working on roads and we're working on buildings, and look at this. Our construction offices are mostly in use now. We are selling power to the point that we might not even need to take out another loan. I think we will, but we'll be repaying just as fast as... Look at... Oh my, look at this. The last 3 weeks, even considering our construction expenses and even considering that the beginning of this period was before we started selling power, we are well in the positives. And as I say that, we're importing more and more and more steel and coal, and not going great. Okay. So well in the positives is an exaggeration, certainly. But, oh well. Yes, we're moving materials over here. The only thing we'll need is workers. And the buses are sitting here not doing anything. That is unfortunate, because we really do need workers. They are set to build pipelines, conveyors, and buildings, and I see one bus now is doing it. It's going to bring workers to the conveyor. That's a good thing. What about the other bus? Come on, other bus. Also, this crane is going probably to the conveyor, which is excellent. Yes, it is. And the other bus, there he goes. He's going to the aggregate storage. So that's great. Our buses are not repeating the same job. They are not bunching up. They're going to be extra helpful for us. Conzone Ostruct is well on its way. What an ugly name. So unfortunate. Remember, people, suggest names either in chat or on the YouTube comments, and they will be done. Yes, yes, they will. Whatever name I see first is the name that these terrible names turn into. I'm still hoping this will not be Starterville forever, and this will not be Farmsville forever. Those are very creative names. Next to those, Conzonostruct seems altogether creative and beautiful. We'll get there. We'll get the audience built. We'll word of mouth our way to success. And then your mouth words will become my names. And we can't wait for that to happen, can we? I see we have a lot of workers waiting, but that's okay, because there's a big bus on its way, and another big bus has just picked people up. They are going to the Farmsville bus stop, in other words, the food factory. All 3 of these buses are going to the same place. They are bunched up like mad. That's not the best. This one only has 7 workers, so I think I'm actually going to do a thing where I tell him to move to the bus platform. Then he will turn around, and the buses will be less bunched in the future. And that's what we want. So how are we doing here? Don't care about the heating plant. It is May. How are our farms doing? I bet you they're almost entirely planted. They are, in fact, entirely planted. Perfect. And more than 2/3 of the way towards harvest time. Meanwhile, over here, we have gone through roughly 3/4 of our total amount of crops that we grow. And we are roughly 3/4 of the way. Well, we're a little bit over that towards harvest time, but I like the pace that we have set with this food factory. At this point, it really seems like when the new crops for the new season begin coming in, it'll be just the right amount of time to refill these silos, which is exactly what we want. We want steady state food production. Oh, this power plant has been a godsend, but we're still hemorrhaging money, unfortunately, because we're still importing steel to build things. When will it end? If we go back to encompassing last month, we are not much in the negative, and our money has run out, so we must borrow more. So let's go back here. So if we go to last month, and then we move it up to today, we're only 9,000 in the hole, and that includes 27,000 of imported steel, 6,000 mechanical components. I mean, this is going well. We are making money, and we are making more than a small amount of money right now. We are making a medium-sized amount of money. Only making a small amount of money was essentially servicing our loan interest and little more. But now that we are making a medium-sized amount of money, we can begin repaying this debt that we have found ourselves in. And I think that will lead to much, much happiness and rejoicing within our community of Starterville. I see that our flats are once again filling up. These two buildings are entirely full, and this one is getting there too. All of our... Oh, how do you tell the difference between basic educated workers and advanced education? I guess these guys are... What's the difference here? A lot of our population is very, very old indeed, and I think this includes all of our educated workers, so we should really watch out, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, we're running low on educated workers. We're going to have to import more, unfortunately. That is going to be very expensive, but we'll move some of our less educated workers over to this flat here, and then we'll bite the bullet and hit this button twice. Okay. Now, I think we're going to need more flats very soon. As we previously discovered, this one is not walking distance from either from any of the pub, the hospital, or the kindergarten, and that's a problem. This one is walking distance at the kindergarten, but not the other two. Less of a problem, but still a bit of a problem. So I think we'll be okay with this for now. I think we'll tell this one to begin constructing. We will move the maximum number of workers down to 10 because they are useless before we get resources there. And we will begin the task of upgrading these pathways. Now, as I've said a few times, I absolutely straight up refuse to micromanage the upgrading of all of these little mini pathways and roads within our town. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to micromanage it. We are, in fact, going to be real cheaty face about this and auto build in rubles. I don't know why that was on. Why was that auto build on? Oh dear. What have I auto built and not noticed? Oh, it was the power lines. I think those were the last things I built. I don't think I told the game to build anything else, so I hope we're still okay on that. So let's start these pathways. And with these better pathways, hopefully that building will in fact be walking distance from these things that it is not currently walking distance from. That would be wonderful. So what other pathways are needed here? Maybe here and here and here. That looks good to me. Maybe here and here and here. How are we doing? Now, if we go to walking distance, we can, in fact, get to all of the things. Perfect. Maybe we'll just upgrade one more little path here. And then we'll remember to turn off auto build this time, because we do not want accidental auto builds. That is a recipe for failure. Students are waiting. Everyone wants university education. Oh, Wade, education level basic. Yeah, okay. So he has had schooling, but not university. That needs to be one of our next tasks, actually, is getting universities up. The real question is whether we want to focus on a university now, or whether we want to finish building all of our coal infrastructure first. That is a quandary, as they say. I don't know which one to do first. I think I'm going to do this stuff first. I think I'm going to keep importing our experts at great expense. The only experts we'll need for now are the one school and the one hospital, so I think we can be somewhat satisfied in the knowledge that we do not need very much expertise in this here community. Meanwhile, turn the workers up to 15 because we seem to be having no trouble getting supplies. At least for now. Oh man, we are experiencing great successes. I feel very optimistic about the future. We got over a hard little challenging time where our income was barely matching our ability to repay loans and not at all matching our ability to construct things. But now we are constructing things more or less freely, and that's great. This delivery cost is something I do not want to see, not because it's a very high delivery cost. In fact, delivery cost is really kind of negligible compared to the other expenses we're incurring, but because I do not think this is within the spirit of the game. We do not have enough trucks to move the coal towards the power plant, and that's really unfortunate. But we hesitate to build more trucks because soon we will have coal infrastructure up and those trucks will be useless to us. So let's just keep it going as it is right now, and eventually things will improve. I'm a big fan of eventually. As long as you count your eventuallys, they will eventually hatch. Yes, they will. We've dropped off a bunch of stuff at this here shopping center. This is another place where auto purchasing is on. For instance, meat will be auto purchased at the moment, but we do not want to use that. So in fact, what I'm going to do is start construction on these warehouses that I planned out all the way back at the beginning of the game, but then never begun constructing. And this will allow us to completely stop importing any of these things, which is what we want to see. Meanwhile, we are out of money again, or very close to it, so it's time for another gigantic loan. All right. Oh, we'll get to the end of this. You notice how once we had income from a power plant, I started feeling much better about our financial situation. I started green-lighting all sorts of construction projects, which then put our financial situation back into dire straits as it was before. My eyes are always much, much bigger than my stomach. Yes, they are. Oh, these flats. Look at them construct. Hey, look at that. Legion 1202 has subscribed 8 minutes ago. I do not have a proper display, heads-up display HUD thing happening on my stream. I only have one simple little webcam with my little face right in the middle of it. I have been streaming for a grand total of 4 days so far. This is my 4th day of streaming, so I guess 3.5 days would be more accurate. I have done it each of the last 4 days, however, so that shows dedication and moxie as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully the dedication and also the moxie will carry on for a while, and I'll get all of these fancy interface and screens and heads-up displays, and you'll see the chat, and you'll see the followers and the subscribers. And I will also see the subscribers right away instead of having to wait 8 minutes before I say, Legion 1202, welcome to the Red Army. Hey, that's a pretty clever thing to say, welcome to the Red Army. I should stick with that. Come on, prefab. Fab those pre's. We are definitely worker bottlenecked right now, which should never be the case on a construction item that's in a city, so we have enough flatbeds here to deliver more prefabs pretty quickly. I'm just gonna try to skip right ahead by putting a few more workers on. What I don't want, though, is to take all the workers away from my bus stop here. Like, that's another thing you don't want in a city, is to have too many construction projects on the go, so you lose workers from your bus stop, and then your power plant stops working. Called it. Oh boy. Oh boy. So this is 7 workers. They are going to this bus stop, not to the power plant. So rather than hitting the import power button, I think, oh, there's people going to the power. Okay. We're safe for now. That was deeply concerning. But now we have a functioning power plant, at least for the time being. So where are you going? You're going to the... Where's the other power plant bus? That's not. That is, and it has 7 workers on board. So they will arrive before the other ones leave. That was a little bit scary, but we're okay. Yeah, we better finish these constructions fast because... Oh, right. And these factory connections, I absolutely hate it. You cannot turn down the maximum number of workers in these things. Same with roads. And that's incredibly frustrating because generally speaking, you do not even need workers to do these factory connections and roads. You just need like vehicles. Vehicles like the paver or the bulldozer or things like that. So these are going to trap a bunch of our workers that we want in the bus stop. And there is nothing we can do about it. Makes us real sad. Now we've got cranes working on this here prefab, and that's wonderful. This microbus is clearly still working the farms route, and we don't really want microbuses on that route, so instead we're going to put them on the power route for now. Because even though I think we have more than enough workers heading towards the power plant, we want to be all nice and safe and snug and secure in our power generation. That's very important. In the future, we'll also have coal ore and bricks working off the same bus stop, so we can afford to put more buses on this route and afford to be more secure in our power plant function, but we're not there yet. Oh, and the aggregate storage is now done, and so are these two things, these two conveyor belts, that's what they're called. So we'll begin construction on the coal ore processing plant. This will be a very expensive construction. It's going to cost us lots and lots of money, and we're going to have to take out more loans. This is a wonderful game. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 loans. So this one will be repaid very, very soon. So 8.5 loans. Does my farm support my factory? I do not need to import grain. In fact, I have not imported grain at all during this playthrough. I have imported food when necessary. Thank you for the question, Legion. So this factory, we're trying to hit a steady state of somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 50 workers. Right now, obviously, we have 0, but there's 2 buses that are nicely bunched up and also not getting workers because of the construction in the city. So this is not how it normally is. It will typically been around 30 or 40 workers in here. We have 3 grain storage silos here, and these ones do a very nice job of filling up during harvest season. You can see we're in July now, harvest season's about to begin. We're down to 250 tons of grain at this one, and the other 2 are empty. They will all be full by the time the harvest is done, and that'll last me through the winter. The idea is to be as steady as possible with it. By the way, in the past, I've tried building little networks like this using forklifts, and I find that grain is used so bloody fast that the forklifts can't keep up. I don't recommend going over the 3 grain silos. If I need to, I could put an extra grain silo. Well, I'd probably delete this big field and put more grain silos over here, and then have forklifts moving them to here and here. And I could get away with increasing capacity that way if I ever wanted to run the food factory at full on, but I don't think I do. It was essentially our way of breaking even financially in the first few years of the game, minus construction costs. So we were keeping up with our citizens' demands for stuff and things like fuel costs and power costs using food exports up until the point when we finished our power plant. And now we are doing better money-wise, but not much better. We can afford to keep our citizens going, but we cannot afford construction, essentially. All right. More coal for the coal gods. This processing plant will soon make another big dent in our debt levels once we reach the point that we have to supply it with steel and components. But for now, it's cheap things. I like cheap things. I am a cheap thing sometimes. Okay. Can't wait for these things to be done, I tell ya. here we only need workers, so I'm just going to power through that. We might have some... Oh, we have plenty of people waiting for the buses. That's excellent. Though, why didn't you pick up people? You picked up 3 workers. How does that work? Because you only wanted 2% because you were going to the cold store and there was only room for 2%. I understand now. You are a construction bus. Now, I wonder where that 0.34 tons of brick is going to come from. There's 2 open vehicles here. This one is bringing a tower crane. That's ever so useful considering we have only 100 work days left. And now our bricks are full, so we will pump up the workers. That's great. We now have a cold store, and so we'll change our distribution office to distribute to the cold store here. We will take meat off of the deliveries that are going to the shop, wherever that is. Shop. So only electronics, clothes, and food. And we will make that an unload instead of a load and fill her up as much as possible. Go with 80%. So now we will never auto import meat again. And I like that because auto importing is a sign of weakness and great personal failure. No more meat. Approve. They may or may not run out of meat before we stop, before we get the first meat truck there, but that's okay. Worst case scenario, we lose a bit of health and happiness. We've had worse. Here goes our meat truck. Okay, what else? This is now done. That's excellent. We're going to limit the amount. We do not want crops or chemicals or fabric or alcohol or electrical components or mechanical components or plastics. And we actually want a bit more than a fair share of food. So we will change these guys. We no longer want them going to the shopping center. You too. We no longer want you going to the shopping center. I just turned off the customs instead. That was very clever of me. Turn back on the customs, please. Unload food. Okay. Now, also turn on the... Where are we? The warehouse. I'm in the food section, not... Here we go. The warehouse, where we will unload the food up to 90%. Then on this one, we will go back up here, manage tasks, warehouse. Scroll all the way down very, very slowly. Unload. Food. Now that warehouse should fill up from our food factory quite quickly, and hopefully we will no longer have to worry about auto-importing any sort of food very, very soon. That would be lovely. Meanwhile, we will do a thing here where we tell the distribution office to... Right. I hope we don't start running out of possible links in the distribution office soon, because I think we're getting towards that point. We have quite a few links already. Food. And we'll only do this if you get to 40% or lower, so that hopefully the food factory food can keep up with demand and we won't have to take any from the border. That would be great. And clothing, which is... Oh yeah, and electronics is what I meant. Okay. And then we can completely remove the small shopping center. All right. Now we will kill all of the auto purchases and hope beyond hope that our food supply holds up until our trucks start really showing up for us, and that would be real good. Let's see. This is a food truck that's completely full. This is a food truck that is not completely full, but it's coming from the customs house, so sure. It's only trying to fill up to 50% after all. So let's see what's going to happen here. We go up to 10 tons, I think, between these two trucks. Where are you going? Oh, you're going to the shopping center. I see. That explains why you have much less. Wait. Did you just take food from the shopping center? I have done something wrong, haven't I? You don't still have the shopping center on at all, do you? No. Okay, well, I won't worry about it too much. Meanwhile, the food factory is chugging away decently. And our silos are beginning to fill up with the harvest from the small fields, which have already finished growing. Some of the medium fields are just at that point as well. There it is. So we probably all of our harvesters... No, some of our harvesters are free to work the medium fields, so that's excellent. Now, what's going on over here? We are building away, but we have no resources on site. We must have just finished the excavation. And now we're moving on to the pouring concrete. We have lots of vehicles picking up goods to move to this construction site. That's what we want to see. That's excellent. Building is without power supply. We are without money. Oh my lord, we have done bad things. Bad things. We have no coal, and that's why we have no power supply, and we have no coal because we have no money. So we will borrow the money, and we will have power, and hopefully not too many things have gone horribly wrong in the meantime. Actually, it looks like we've had that problem for quite some time because immediately almost 30,000 went down the drain. That is deeply concerning. It's almost certainly because we've been importing steel for this here coal ore processing plant by way of this here open storage, which is now empty of steel. So here comes the steel from the border. Oh, we had one extra bus set up to do the power plant run, and we never actually turned it on. That's what happens when you try to stagger your buses, and then you forget that you built more. So it looks like these asphalt roads are done, so let's flag some more to be constructed. We'll start from this end, because that's where our resources are. And it looks like we can get the full stretch. That's a very good thing. Now, this road does have a bit of a backup plan going this way, but I don't know. I just want to do these like automatically, damn it. I don't want to have to micromanage. Micromanaging city road construction is one of my biggest complaints about this game, and I hate it. So we're not going to do it yet. We are out of money again, so we're going to hit the borrow button real quick. This coal ore processing plant is very expensive, as it turns out. Meanwhile, we should start work on the upstream structures and burn through even more money paying for all of this. What do we need money for anyway, right? We need money for nothing as long as we have coal mines. Coal mines, coal mines, coal mines! We have finished the flat, and just in time, because our old ones are completely full and people needed to move out. So that's good. I think we should actually start this one as well, but we'll crank the workers down. The first stage of construction should be able to be done by excavators anyway, so we're not too worried about workers. So, at this lovely spot in the game, with this lovely view, oh, I might as well answer this question. I just noticed your question there, Legion1202. How do I calculate how many fields I needed? The answer is, I did not calculate how many fields I needed. I built fields until it felt like enough, until it felt like my one agro farm was basically getting through them. The first year I had, I think this one and these three big fields started the second year. Everything else was the first year. So I saw that I had successfully finished the harvest with a bit of time to spare in the first year. So I added 3 more fields. And then the second year, that seemed about right. We were just finishing up harvest as the first snowfalls hit and killed our crops. So we only left, building on fire, danger, danger, building on fire, oh my, building on fire. Okay, well, that's fine. Our fire station will totally handle that. That's no problem at all. It is our bus platform, but nothing to be afraid of. We're okay, I think. I hope. Oh no, it's not our bus platform. It is, in fact, our prefab, but we're doing fine. Okay. Emergency. So the second year, we were almost done bringing the crops in when harvest time ended, and we left a few in the field. So I thought that is the perfect amount. This is the third year, and we figure we're basically okay. So we're going to stick with this amount. No math at all, just pure feel. You know, that's what gets her done, you know. I'm not a thinking man, I am a feeling man. So, back to what I was saying a minute ago, which is that we're at about the hour mark on this here episode, and that means that we are done with episode 7 for the YouTube series, and thank you for joining me for this here episode 7. We have made great progress. We have progressed our debt level very, very well. We're getting more and more and more debt, while at the same time, we are building more and more revenue, so we should be able to burn through that debt eventually. That's my favorite word, eventually, because it can always come tomorrow and it doesn't have to come today. But for today, I'm going to say good night because this is the end of episode 7. Yes, it is.